It's the way we can get most people saying, yeah, this is the future we'd like. So without any further ado, I'm going to introduce our first presenter. Okay, Senator Arup is from White and Arup in Scandinavia in Stockholm. He is, we're letting Senator go because he's coming in from Stockholm on this feed. And he is like at 10 o'clock at night there, so he's pumping heavy dark coffee right at the moment just to be able to.
As usual. Yep.
He's going to tell you when you got 3, 2, 1 minutes to go on your presentation, okay?
All right, that's perfect. Thank you.
Okay, you're going to call out to Kendrick, our volunteer here who's going to change slides for you.
All right, perfect. All right, thank you very much, everybody, to this opportunity to present to you our proposal. My name is Sander Schur. I'm an architect from Holland, now based in Stockholm, Sweden. I have today with me my colleague Margaret Steiner, who is our communication strategist, as well as Jack, who is our landscape architect on this project. I will do the presentation and they will jump in later during the questions as they can provide some specific information. Next slide, please. So this is Montpelier. It's your city. We don't need to show you these images. What we see is a beautiful located state capital characterized by the beauty of its surroundings, its lush natural setting, with skiing, hiking, bike trails, everything of that, while also offering a dynamic urban environment with an artist community, local craftsmanship, food, music scene, everything is there. And these are the characteristics that we aim to endeavor to complement and preserve in our design. As obvious, we are not locals, but we do have an excellent knowledge and experience in community engagement processes in the design and sustainable urban development. And we would like to share our knowledge with you. And we would like to support you to ensure a bright, sustainable future for Montpelier as an inspiration to all cities in the US and around the world, as cities, especially now in the political situation, have to take the lead. Next slide, number 3. For us, a truly sustainable future stretches beyond energy efficiency and renewal. Sustainability is about human well-being. And therefore, we say that our proposal is more than just net zero. It includes you, the community of Montpelier. We aim for something that we call net zero plus. It is a Scandinavian crossroad approach where we, together with the community, would like to establish this net zero plus, and therefore we focus mainly in our proposal on the children, as they are the future of tomorrow. Next slide. Creating a healthy city that ensures human well-being requires commitment, innovation, and most of all, collaboration. And as said, we would like to collaborate with you. We would like to guide the community to success. Therefore, we offer a strategy, not necessarily a design. So you should read our proposal today as an architectural illustration of the possibilities and the opportunities. And this is meant to invite and inspire you to participate in the design process. Next slide. A net zero or net zero plus urban environment requires a higher density with a stronger integration of the elements. Our proposal is a toolbox. It's full of smart, innovative, and doable design solutions that are applicable across all borders. Solutions that will ensure us a healthy city. The new development is nested in harmony to the existing Montpelier, enhancing the existing community, and it's a celebration and addition to a wonderful city offering new developments that will attract the young. Next slide, number 6. An increased density is essential for a net zero urban environment. It makes for close proximity, which allows for more sustainable transportation, more sustainable operations, more sustainable energy uses, but also a more sustainable lifestyle. Because keep in mind that a sustainable future is not only about energy saving. Next slide. A higher density, together with strong integration and functions and program, creates a healthy city. Our proposal includes a series of doable, innovative design solutions that are adaptive or adaptable to future changes and aim to empower the people to take a lead role in everyday life. Next slide, number 8. Public space is the backbone of a healthy city, and we offer a wide variety of public space for the diversity that is the community to contribute to social interaction and engagement, once again to ensure the community's well-being. Public space is a grand democratic gesture that empowers residents with pride, ownership, and accountability. Next slide. At the center of the proposal is the new, what we call Winooski River Park, which is an essential public space in design which offers a dynamic program reconnecting Montpelier to the river. Winooski Park is an assemblage of park rooms that engage both the city fabric and the river. It's a green anchor, a welcoming entry, and it's the breathing room for the city development. Next slide, number 10. In the middle of Winooski River Park, we envision as one of the first steps in the development, the new Net Zero Plus Lab, which is a place where people gather, space for education and engagement, and it focuses once again on the youth to take part in shaping the future of Montpelier. Next slide. The landscaping of the park allows various programs to reconnect to the river, such as the basin as shown in the image. This is where the park is a little bit lower and it forms an amphitheater allowing for different functions and also direct access to the river. And it can be for a strong role in stormwater mitigation. Because a net zero city requires that we double purpose for every civic infrastructure. An analysis of soil contamination is required to inform the design of this. Next, number 12. Stormwater mitigation measures are very important for every city located along the river, now and even more so in the future. What we do is we integrate it in the public space and where we can collect, filter, detain, and infiltrate stormwater while also celebrating water and public life. This playfulness is celebrated in both large and small gestures throughout the city, on the street, in parks, and the interface between public and private. Next slide, number 13. A variety of public functions, such as the transit hub, will bring life to the park, ensuring an attractive and safe urban environment. Certain transit hub activities can be placed on the streets. They don't need to be in climate, indoor climate within the building. They can be on the streets, and they should focus on the transformation from car traffic to other means of transportation, so as bicycle rental, car share stations, and local electrical bus lines. And by doing so, activating Taylor Street and activating the civic landscape. Next, number 14. The new development exists in harmony with the existing buildings of Montpelier. It's not meant to replace the other buildings, but it will, however, have an integrity and character of its own. It's not a replica of these decades past. A series of loops integrate the new development seamlessly and ensures easy accessibility for cyclists and pedestrians. These loops are easily expanded to serve additional neighborhoods to the east, west, north, and south. Next. In one of these loops, from the east Winooski River Park south, the park extends very naturally on something which we call the new Park Bridge, creating the new entrance to the city. This will transform the existing bridge to become a new icon for Montpelier and create an iconic entrance to the city and the transit center located in the city center. Next. The architecture. We aim to include the community to formulate the architecture of Montpelier and beyond. The new development offers alternate and flexible topologies, providing opportunities for all, such as cooperative housing, low-income and market rate rentals, private residential, and commercial functions. We envision that the architecture is constructed from locally sourced, sustainable, and recyclable materials where possible. Next. A first step towards this future could be a hybrid parking garage on Main Street to make the existing parking space available for development. The parking garage will include programs to activate the building, such as outdoor leisure on the roof. And it can also include a mobility hub to transform once again from car traffic to more sustainable transportation measures. It can include a community center, and next slide, eventually housing be included in the same structure. Next slide. Makerspace living is a new typology. It provides opportunities for young starters, both in starting their business, but also in finding a new home. And it's adaptive to market demands. It is built up of a rational structure with prefabricated elements that can transform a floor either in dwelling or in makerspace spaces. It blends rental units, home ownership units, and mixed-use units. Next. The new indoor farmers market is inspired by the existing farmer market culture existing in Montpelier, and it aims to connect from farm to fork. The farmer market links to the included functions which are elderly housing and daycare through educational purposes and daily activity. It is bridging generations. Next. And it is providing for hands-on learning to build an understanding of nature and an importance for a net zero plus future. It allows for locally produced food production to supply the culinary industry. Once again, another loop in our proposal. Next, number 22. We suggest the city to allow for the construction for a structure less than 270 square feet, similar to the model we have here in Stockholm, without a building permit. This provides even more affordable opportunities for home ownership for young people. I have to add that this is not required to achieve the required density downtown, but it will densify areas further away from downtown, and most of all, as said, providing opportunities for the young. Next. On the south side of the river, we envision a series of housing units which are called river housing. The development of the south bank is for us essential to connect downtown to the insurance company in combination with the new bridge park. Being close to the river, the buildings will have a concrete plinth supporting or protecting from possible flooding, with on top a timber construction for the top floors. Next. The architecture of all buildings and public space are based on the items we had in our first part of the proposal. The first being to engage the community in public life. This can be done within the architecture by opening a program on the ground floor, which will activate and secure the place and the space around the buildings. Next. The architecture and the urban scheme will also embrace nature by the materialization, introducing and integrating green into its architecture. It will support stormwater mitigation, the building performance, moist regulation, cooling and insulation of the building, as well as sunshade in a very natural and cost-effective manner. Next. And all buildings and the design will ensure energy saving through efficient district heating and natural ventilation, and energy generation through integrated solar cells within the architecture. Next. To achieve a net zero plus, the design includes a variety of technologies and policies, which is really important. The technologies vary from district heating, solar panel roofs and facades, turbines in the river where possible, solar and wind powered, and smart street lights. Smart street lights being that they will react to the amount of natural light available as well as reacting to traffic intensity. And we estimate that 50% of the required energy can be generated within the city. Next. But the proposal also includes a series of policies the city can adapt to ensure a net zero future. This can be building permit prerequisites that a building ensures a performance and renewable energy. It can be long-term contracts with energy suppliers, funding for sustainable initiatives, or tax reduction for sustainable initiatives. But most of all, next, a net zero plus Montpelier requires you, the community of Montpelier, to get into the loop with us and make this the future you want for your city. Next. Thank you.
This is brilliant. He did it in 15 minutes, and you did well, Lindy, keeping everybody on track. This next 10-minute portion, I'll help facilitate. If you have specific questions, we have Emily and Rebecca who can pick up your cards. Just pass them down to the end. Oh, you don't have cards. Can we bring some cards down and hand some cards through? Please raise your hand if you want a card. Do we have a question that we can... Barbara?
Thank you, Dan. Thank you, team, so much for this wonderful presentation. It's amazing. What I noticed is that the Winooski River Park doesn't really seem to integrate into Montpelier and our small-scale historic buildings, which it would back up to. How do you sort of see integrating those two elements?
You want to...
I agree with what you say, and I'm wondering if perhaps it is partially a product of the view that we chose to kind of encompass the park. But I think for the most part, we really tried to kind of accommodate the grandest gesture we could with the public space itself and to fill in those remaining kind of empty spaces along the side. But in no means are we saying that we're going to remove any of the existing historic buildings and the like. So I think the other aspect of that park is that it does integrate or knit itself into a number of passageways that kind of connect up into the civic campus. If you look at the plan itself, and certainly we need to look at the typologies of the new architecture that surround that park as well to ensure that it does nestle into the existing community as best as we can. And then as far as kind of the materiality of the park, I think it would be incredibly important that we looked at using locally sourced materials so it doesn't have any kind of foreign or modernistic approach to it. I think using granite, using locally sourced materials, using native plantings and the likes would help it to kind of knit into that existing fabric.
We have another question. I think this is a quick one. Where is the new Loop Bridge?
Sorry, the what?
The new Loop Bridge?
The new Park Bridge.
Taylor Street.
That's adjacent to the Taylor Street Bridge, yeah, connecting to the south.
Okay. Will there be a permanent place in your design for a ceremony circle? Native Americans to celebrate and the seasons and elements as well as the rituals of passage?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Certainly. Okay. Could be. I mean, I think that, once again, I think that the plan is kind of a framework for what could happen. The actual programming of any open space and architecture would need to be kind of looked at much more carefully in conjunction with the community itself to program it.
And that's us in that sense, as I tried to communicate in my presentation, willing to work with the community to solve especially these kind of issues that we were not informed of, but also don't know from this side of the pond, as they say. And we're really eager to learn more about the community and make the best design possible.
Very good. What will you do to preserve and support the historic design and the architecture with your new proposed spaces, buildings?
Well, as said, we want to keep the buildings that are there and are so characteristic for the city of Montpelier. We're not going to demolish anything. We're not going to put them back to back with highly modernistic, out of the context architecture. The architecture we put in our presentation is an illustration of the possibilities within the material, in the scale of the city. It's our first approach for the community to react to and give us homework to do it better. But we're definitely keeping Montpelier as appreciated by everybody.
I think it might also be good to add in that any existing buildings, to bring them kind of up to modern standards, that'd be a really important aspect of kind of reaching these net zero goals. So having passive house retrofitting, increasing efficiencies in these existing buildings is absolutely mandatory to meet these goals that you've set out for yourself.
No.
We also discussed yesterday about discussing with you about what sort of tax incentives you have and what kind of laws or I want to say what you have in place already for retrofitting things, local incentives.
This question is right along those lines in terms of partnerships and partners in the community. What is your experience, in your experience, are effective methods to overcome uncooperative partners? And, you know, in this case, this one was private sector, landowners, maybe government. So that's the question.
That is a good question.
You have a little experience with that.
It's a tricky one. How would you say it? Like we have a really long track record here in Scandinavia, including as many people as we can in the design process. The process is almost more important than the iconicness or you know the language of the architecture. So we have certain ways of working established here in the office to get as many voices heard and to get as many voices into the design decisions we have to make. So that's something that comes for us very natural. I don't have a specific solution I can put on the table right now, as I have to know more about the problem, but we're more than prepared to sort it out.
This one is this individual loves your presentation, your inclusion of people, and your new points of view. How many people would you envision? And I'm not sure what that actually means. Living in Montpelier. So to make this a sustainable net zero community, with what you've looked at, what do you think in terms of the number of people? But they think your ideas are brilliant.
All right. Thank you for that. That's good to hear. We do not envision a certain number. There is for being net zero not a certain threshold needed. Density is a good thing. People having less need to travel. Housing can be shared with solar voltaics on the roof, shared district heating. It all makes more for an efficient and sustainable city. But as said, there is no threshold. In this process, or in the proposal we put forward today, there are 2,000 housing units additional to the existing stock, which we think is pushing it at this stage.
All right. This one is about transportation and near and dear to my heart. In your plans, fall foliage, this is a town that accepts a lot of people during fall foliage. How will the plan allow tour buses? Tour buses, people coming in buses to visit. Will the plan accommodate tour buses? Your
Certainly,
staff.
I'd say that the new Taylor Street Transit Hub could certainly be a kind of a starting point. You know, if these are kind of round tours or in the lakes, I'm not entirely sure that these tour buses would just be staying downtown. So I think ensuring that there's an efficient means of coming into the town and also getting out of the town is crucial. And I think the existing plans that you have in place with the transit center and connecting that back over to Main Street and then perhaps out of town would certainly accommodate that. We'd need to know more about kind of certain traffic problems and the likes going forward to kind of streamline these things. But I don't see anything in the existing proposal that would hinder tour buses. That answers the question.
It's still in the vein of parks and fun. How will you balance the transit center with a park? Will there be a playground in the park?
Absolutely. I think there's a place for play. And as we said in the beginning, I think it's the kids that we need to focus on here. They'd be running the town in 30 years' time, and we need to make a place for them and everybody else. As far as accommodating the transit center itself, I think in the RFP, it was a bit vague in terms of what the transit center itself is going to accommodate in terms of types of multimodal transit and the like. So I think that would be a big driver in how big that facility is. If it's just buses that we're accommodating, if it's going to be a light rail that it's accommodating, I think all of those decisions would end up driving the size and scale of that. I think the one thing that we were very excited about is, as Sandra said, not housing all those activities in a building, but using those to activate the street and kind of bring life to the street and the park itself.
Great. We have to close now, and so if you have just like 10 or 15 seconds to introduce yourselves, I don't know if we already did, but and or parting comment.
Shall I start? Introducing myself once more.
Sander, we know you, but your team.
Yeah. I'm surprised.
I can go. My name's Jack Johnson. I'm a landscape architect. I've been with White for the past 3 years. Been in Sweden for 5 years. Before that, I was a landscape architect in Seattle, Washington, and worked in the Pacific Northwest for 15 years or so. And then before that, I was born and raised in Brooklyn. So it's kind of awesome. So
Very
back
good.
to you guys.
Okay.
Nice to see you, and I love presenting in English.
Very good. And
I'm trying to stay a little bit behind the scenes. My name's Margaret Stainer. I'm also American. I'm originally from West Virginia, from northern West Virginia, outside of Pittsburgh area, actually. Went to school in Pennsylvania. I studied architecture. Right after school, I moved to New York. I lived there for about 8 years, and I've been in Stockholm for about 10 years.
great.
Or maybe more, actually. I work on the communications team here at White, and have a lot to do with the concept development, work very closely with architects.
Very good. Thank you very much. I'm sorry we have to close this now.
Thank you.
Stay tuned online. People will be voting, and we will let you know.
Okay.
Very
Thank you
good.
so much.
Thank you.
And notice
Have a great
no
day.
carbons were killed to provide this. We managed to have a low carbon teleconference with this presentation, so we're quite proud of ourselves. We're going to
Yeah.
Well done.
All right.
shut us down.
If people want cards, please raise your hand so that we are ready for the next set of questions. So we'll send some cards down to you. Just raise your hands up.